Come on.
They're right there!
Let's go. Move, 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 move.
This episode of Choices Not Chances podcast is sponsored by Louisiana Gun Shop, located on Highway 90 West in Broussard, Louisiana, just south of Lafayette. For more information, stay tuned at the end of this episode.
This is Choices Not Chances podcast with Ryan and Matt. I'm your co-host, Matthew Charette. Sitting next to me is Ryan Rogers. Ryan.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming back. And just like always, if you take something away from this cast, we ask that you share it out to the people that need to hear. Don't be selfish with the information. Today we're going to be talking to our line corpsman from 2010 Marjah Push Circle with 3-6. His name is Hernandez. In the Marine Corps, we don't have medics. We have warfighters and we have Navy corpsmen. The warfighter generally wages the war, and the Navy corpsmen keep them healthy. And should they fall, he patches them up. The Navy corpsmen are in many ways the lifeblood of the infantry line. They live, train, fight, and die beside their men. In the Navy, they're referred to as greenside corpsmen. In the infantry line, they go by brother or doc. Today's a special day because I have not seen our guest in many years, and what will follow will be an authentic conversation with Anderson Hernandez, who was 2nd Platoon's lead corpsman in the Marjah Push in 2010. For his actions there, he was awarded the Navy Com with a valor device. And his accounts are necessary for future corpsmen to hear. They can use his accounts and build tactical decision games, and we would encourage those conversations. Without further delay, Doc H, thanks for coming out, joining us from Colombia, the beautiful backdrop of Colombia there in the background, loving it. And man, thanks for making it out. We've been talking about this for a minute, getting together and kind of laying this down, and finally got a chance with me and Matt both in the studio to be able to kind of patch you in from Colombia, thanks to this beautiful technology, and have a conversation. One of the big things that we try to impress upon us, with the show is, giving our accounts from one of the last big pushes for the regular infantry, regular corpsmen, involved in that, and letting guys have the information to build those games, to prep their minds and things of that nature. So, cover a little bit of Marjah, but we also got to catch up over the last, 13 years or so. So I look forward to the conversation, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, welcome, Doc.
Thank you both, Matt, Ryan. Thank you. It's been a long time. It's been a long time, guys, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks for reaching out in the outreach.
Absolutely,
and like you
dude.
said over the few last weeks, and what you guys are doing is great. I feel like veterans, I feel like military service members are taught greatly how to be service members, but they're not taught how to be civilians again as well.
Totally agree.
I think whatever you guys do to bridge that gap is great.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. But, we're going to do what we're going to do. And hopefully you guys can take advantage of it and, better than we would have, or better than we did with the information that we had. So, and usually in the beginning, man, I like to get at, where you came from. I'm writing another book, and there's certain pointed questions I like to find out where people come from. Where does this American exceptionalism and this leadership come from that people possess within the armed forces in the United States? And, not just the armed forces, but that's where I've seen it. That's where it's impacted my life. So where did you come from? Where'd you start out at?
Where'd I come from? Oh my gosh, so much philosophy. Well, my parents, they migrated from Colombia to Boston when I was just 8 years old. So I grew up in Boston. Right out of high school, I was security. I was security right out of high school at a biotech company.
Okay.
And so I enlisted in this, there was this biotech program at Boston University. And I got to learn while being security at the pharmaceutical place. But, I did that because I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. So I thought, let me just start this way, get my feet wet. But then, talking to a medical student, he told me that he'd been studying for like 12 years, but he never seen a patient because he still was doing his residency. And I thought right away, I'm like, dude, what if you don't like it? Like, what if you do it and don't like it?
Is that a waste of a decade plus? Yeah.
Literally. So I thought, how can I do medicine right now? And so I went looking for a Marine recruiter, and the Marine recruiter was like, yeah, we don't do medicine. I could put you in infantry. No, I'm like, no, I want to do medicine. He's like, well, the Navy does. So I stepped out. I went to the Navy recruiter.
Yes.
And I joined right away. Though I didn't think I was gonna go with the Marines because the recruiter told me that it was like an optional thing, like it was a C school, right? And so when I went in, I thought, oh, I'm gonna go to a hospital and get to try medicine while going to school.
Right.
That was like the kicker. And then Obama comes on and says we're all going to Afghanistan.
I do remember that Doc H and Doc Fowler were both not pleased about that.
That wasn't the thing they had in mind.
Yeah, so at that point, it became non-option. Almost every corpsman that was coming in was going straight to FMTV to go greenside, right?
Explain that. What's FMTV?
Sure. So it's Fleet Marine Training Battalion, I think.
Field Med.
Field Med Training Battalion. Oh my God, I've been away for
too long. Yeah, but explain more. Like, what is Field Med Training Battalion?
Sure.
What are you doing there?
Sure. So it's a C school designed to develop corpsmen, develop their skills further in the field, in combat settings. The corpsman is very well trained. I mean, from the get go, from A school. However, in FMTB, what they really get is that green side exposure. So every class is paired with a platoon sergeant, who is usually a staff sergeant, who's also very seasoned and salty, like you guys say, right? And so they get exposed to that right away. That infantry
culture and mindset, yeah.
Exactly. And so and that's really what turns then the average corpsman into the field med corpsman or the green side corpsman.
Right.
And it's just like another boot camp with more schooling. And people are probably criticizing me when I say boot camp because Navy's boot camp, right? But it's harder than your regular.
I'm not taking nothing away. I've never been there. I can't judge.
And you spend enough time with the Marine Corps, you might as well be one.
Yeah, I don't see you as different at all.
You guys is definitely tough, man.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Now, so let's go back. So where are you coming from? Where are you born?
So I was born in Colombia, in Medellin, Colombia. And at 8 years of age, my parents migrated to Boston.
Okay.
So I was 8 and 33 now, so you can do the math.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Boston. I went to East Boston High School, actually. Graduated class in 2007. 2007. And then I went to Boston University 2008 under that program.
Right.
Biotech.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when I joined. I joined in 2008. So June 2008, I got to Chicago O'Hare, where Great Lakes was training. Sailors. It was scary, man. I mean, it was like a switch, right? Like I was like a civilian. I was a brat, rebel, just grew up in the city, and I show up in this place, and it was a petty officer, and I'm at the airport. The petty officer greets me. He asks for my orders. He confirms it's me. He's like, "Are you hungry? Are you okay? Did you sleep well?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine. I am hungry." He's like, go eat some pizza. There's great pizza over there. So I go get the pizza, come back. You good? You're full?
Time to work.
Get your ass. Oh my God. I've never been treated in that way or seen anyone treated that way.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, wow, what did I do?
Culture shock.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then from there, you get to Great Lakes. And the first thing I think you do is like a urinalysis. and even that is super scary because there's just people watching. And so
Yeah, it's odd.
yeah, and that was my welcoming right to the whole military.
Now, what would you say your catalyst was for service? Was it the medicine, that you could do medicine, some sort of medicine right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Check.
Yeah, and I've always been a competitor, so I was the whole being challenged to do physical things wasn't a like an obstacle for me. I saw it as a challenge, like a rewarding challenge.
Check.
Yeah, man.
Check. So you come out of boot camp, and then you said you went straight into FMTB?
No. So from boot camp, I went to A school, still in Great Lakes.
Okay.
And then A school, I want to say it was like 6, I don't remember. So that's the corpsman school, right?
Yep.
And from there, I got orders to FMTB.
Check.
But before getting to FMTB, I had like intermittent orders because my class wasn't ready. So I got to go to 1-8, I think, or 1-9. The Walking Dead.
1-9.
9th, yeah.
1-9. So I got to go to them. And it was crazy because I still had no FMTB experience, like nothing. It was just blue side forming, go to 1-8 or 1-9. I'm sorry, 1-9.
Yeah.
And in my first day there at the BAS, a staff sergeant runs in with a Marine, grabbing him by the wrist because he just like cut his wrist open, and
that's bad.
he like throws the Marine at us. And he's like, "Hey, can someone take care of this little bitch or punk or something?"
Oh no!
All those lines, and just walks out. And that was my like, "Hey, welcome." By the way,
first case. Oh wow! Yeah, that's bad.
So my impression of Marine at that time was like terrible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, then he got to meet Big Whiskey.
So what do you OJT for just a couple months until school opens up, and then you go to school?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
And it's obvious because we're wearing the blue camos, or back then it was the blue suit. Yeah. And then everybody's just, we just stick out, right? And, and we don't know anybody, so we're like less than boys.
So, yeah, just fresh ones. Yeah. So take me through how you arrived at 3-6 and when. Is that straight out of FMTB? You got new orders?
That's right.
Okay.
So if in FMTB, once you find out you're graduating from the class, they tell you where you're going, right? But your orders already say if you're going 2nd Marine Division or 2nd Marine Logistics or Wing or something. So I already knew I was going to division. I just didn't know what infantry battalion per se.
You're going to land at, right.
So you graduate, and then the Navy chiefs of each battalion comes out to meet you and say, hey, you're going to this battalion. And usually they coordinate some sort of effort where like a petty officer comes and greets you. So that's how I got to 3-6. I graduated FMTB. I got to 3-6, and I still wasn't with Kilo. I think they take us with headquarters for a little bit, BAS, make sure we're like good to go, and then Kilo. So senior line corpsman is like the corpsman who's like in charge of the other corpsman within the company, right? And so I think at the time, I forgot who at the time, but the senior line corpsman basically comes in, tells me at the BIS, it's like, hey, you're going Kilo 2nd platoon, let's go meet. And I'm like, okay, let's do that, right? So we go out to outside of the barracks, right, where you guys usually meet, have formation. And then the Marines, I think the senior line corpsman goes, hey, 2nd platoon, blah blah, this is your new corpsman. And the first thing they did was laugh. They all laughed. and I'm like, what?
Oh no.
And they just like they wanted to play jokes and stuff, which whatever. And then one of them goes, hey, go get your gear. Aren't you going on the training tonight?
Yep.
What do you mean? I don't even have. So I had to go home and get my gear because we left that night to I think Camp Dawson.
Okay.
In West Virginia.
Okay.
Oh, that's when you came to the platoon. Okay.
Yeah.
Worst field op I've ever had.
3 days.
No.
3 days mountain training, right?
Yep.
You gotta keep up. Oh man, it was the worst. I think I lost like 10, 15 pounds that week.
Get after it.
And I lost my bayonet, so we had to look for it. Oh, dude.
Well, I want to hear this. I wasn't to the platoon yet.
Yeah, no, it was. I woke up, and I'm doing like my little PI to make sure I have everything, but I couldn't find the bayonet, man. So I start freaking out, and I don't know anybody. So I'm like, no.
I do remember this now.
If I tell someone with rank, I'm gonna get blasted. So I think I told Bubba.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah, that's the greatest choice right there.
Yeah, I was like, hey man, yeah, I don't see my bayonet. You seen the bayonet? He's like, no. I'm like, yo, what happens if I lose it? Like, is it okay? Yeah, I can see him laughing at me.
He's like, I can see him too. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, so
It's funny, Bubba's name comes up a lot. Like, no matter who you talk to from the platoon, somebody has either he's pulling swallows out of his pocket or walking through
awesome.
Who was it the other night? Was it Fro?
Fro. He said it on his episode too.
Oh, yeah, on Fro's episode. He's like, yeah, the day Hansen died, they opened up on us and there was fire everywhere. And he's like, me and Wazort get down and we're in that like little irrigation ditch. And he's like, there are rounds popping everywhere, popping the dirt, going over our heads. He's like, me and Wazort start yelling at Bubba like, hey, you fucking idiot, take some cover, get over here. And they're like, he just picks up and with his saw just walks by us and strolls by us nice and slow. And when he gets by us, he looks down and is like, fucking pussies.
Dude, yeah, totally.
There's always a story about
man.
Bubba. Okay, so what happens with the K-bar?
Wow. Yeah, man. So I think he just like told like some other Marines around, and I think we just looked around it, and then right when we were about to tell somebody else, we found that it was under my poncho line.
Of course, it was.
Grabbed it, dude. Oh man, but I've never been so scared.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was my introduction to Kilo.
Yeah, that's a hell of an introduction. Yeah, hell of a field op to come in on.
Oh, so Staff Sergeant Wright wasn't there yet. He was still in, I don't know.
Small unit leaders?
Small unit leaders, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
He wasn't there when I checked in either.
Well, he went to a lot of schools.
Yeah, him and E-Man were gone. I think E-Man was.
So you didn't have to. So you checked in with. Well, I guess you're at that point. You're more controlled by the senior line corpsman, anyways. You're just kind of there.
No, at that point I was like totally embedded with second.
Oh, okay.
And I remember because
Creel and Kelk
Taylor,
probably.
You guys remember Taylor?
Yep.
Taylor. He was my team leader, and that wasn't a good thing because I lied, dude. My introduction to Kilo was Staff Sergeant Wright called. So Staff Sergeant Wright was there. He called formation, and Taylor and I was staying in formation. I just stood there, and Taylor came up to me. He's like, "Hey, dude, you're on my spot." And I didn't know anything, so I just like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm just in the field. What do you mean? That's my spot.
We have designated areas to stand.
Dude, I pushed Taylor.
Uh-oh.
And oh man, I saw his eyes open up, and that's when like Staff Sergeant Wright came in. And so during that field off, Taylor was like, oh, he treated me like shit, dude. Like he didn't even know me. So yeah, it was terrible.
I love it. That's a good welcome. That's where the bond starts.
Thank you. Yeah.
You said thank you.
It's all these memories, man, but like they're all like smashed together.
Yeah, dude. Time does that shit.
Yeah.
All right, so you meet the platoon, and then, kind of walk me through what it's like to be the junior corpsman coming in, like trying to OJT. I mean, you got your field med time and stuff like that, but then actually being inundated into the culture, of the infantry line. Kind of speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, man. Well, like I said, it was pretty scary when I was out in the field, right? Because there was all these rules that I just didn't like, you know, quite understand, right? Like don't lose your bayonet, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know.
big issue.
So I think, you know, I think, you know, there's like a standard that no one talks about, right? That you got to meet, and people are, and everyone's looking, right? Like Marines are definitely looking, because you guys are competitors. By nature, you guys wanna be the best, and so I think that so long as someone meets that standard, and that standard can be defined like physical and culture wise, like does he fit in with culture or not, or uh, but above all, you guys like you value physical, like this guy can go out and put out like 5 miles and come back.
Ability, physical ability. Yeah.
Definitely, that's definitely up there. And so I think for me, because I like doing the physical thing, it was like almost like natural.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a lot of criticism, like I remember one time I had a salty Marine come and say, "Hey, are you gonna be able to save me?" or something like that. And he was drunk, and I just walked by him and he was like, he pushed me. He meant it. But I think that's not talked about really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's that. Hey, is he gonna do his job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a. I mean, think about it. This is you know, you drop into a platoon of meat eaters that are on the verge of going on a serious invasion, and maybe they don't know that yet, but that's the way they're supposed to train anyway. And then it's like, this is your lifeline whenever you get jammed up. And you know, if you look at your lifeline, like, can this dude carry me? Can he run with us? Is he going to make it? Is he going to beat the heat? Oh yeah, and by the way, I hope he's trained good, and we need to train him good. And so I think there's, you know, that's natural. And then, you know, and we'll speak on it a little bit later, but, you know, post July 2010, well, I would even say post February 2010, the relationship that you had with the platoon was much, much different. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so some of that's just that, some of that is that sleepover test, you know, like, or the layover test. Like, is this guy is he like us? That's the cultural side of things. But then there's like the proficiency test. Can he do what he's supposed to do? And, you know, that's where training comes in, and being immersed with the actual platoons comes in, because that inundates you in culture and all the training we do. If you're doing all the same training, then that makes us feel more comfortable. Like, yeah, he can. He's out there with us every day. You know, he's beating the PFCs and the Lance Corporals at most of the shit. You know, when you start to see that, then that builds that trust. Like, yeah, at least he'll be there. And then it comes down to proficiency. So,
it's with good reason. I agree.
For sure. You know, I think that's right. I think it's, you know, by design, and it should be that way. Because you got to trust. You have to have trust in the situation you go into downrange. So, okay. And then, so at this point, you don't have John Fowler yet, right?
Mm-mm.
You came much before him, right?
2 months later.
I think we had
Couple months later.
Solar at that point. You never met Solar.
Okay.
That's right. And I Cax, did he go to?
Yes, he went to CAX. He was my roommate at one point. Solar was. He went to CAX, but I think like maybe a week or maybe a month after CAX, he got out.
Well, you know, we had that mass exodus once the deployment changed.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go too far into it. It was just like people thought they were doing a float. It's like, yeah, I'll stick around for a float. And then that changed to, you know, a very highly kinetic deployment, even from the beginning they thought it would be. And, you know, with people saying either I want to extend or I want to re-enlist or whatever, and some people decided to go. And when that happened, we get like a boot drop of the bees, you know, to plus our numbers up. And I came over to the second to plus numbers up. So it was a weird, little change out right there before leaving.
Also, I think we might have got Doc Fowler, which I've said his name enough. Shout out, Doc.
Shout out.
And we got him. I think we had 3 corpsmen at one point in the platoon. We had 1 for each squad, like it's probably supposed to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Feliciano.
Yep.
And Feliciano too. But we deployed with Feliciano, I'm pretty sure. Shout out.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh yeah, our corpsmen were all lines in that deployment.
Yeah.
So okay, so talk to me about like your emotions going into okay, you've been accepted, you're out there training, you know, there's games going on, but you're moving along, and then, you know, going from booze cruise to hey, lace up, we're going home and we got a real one. Like what's on your mind?
Yeah, man. It was tough. The whole transition was tough, especially because I was fighting. I felt like why I didn't know to be here. Why am I here? Right? I couldn't come out of that state of mind, so it made things tougher on my end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was after, you know, that we really started a bond and just respect each other. There was a lot of respect. Like we saw what we did out there, and I think that really put things like, okay, we're gonna go do this thing together. All right, let's go do this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was an awesome experience because it was so radical, man. Like it was crazy. Like does this things that we did, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we'll never be this cool again.
Never be this cool
like,
again.
and so that point of view was like amazing. I was loving every single bit of it. But then there was like the rebel side of me, like, oh man, I didn't have to be here. Like it was that was still like, But I think it was Stasson Wright in the leadership, man. I think the leadership was great. Wright and I, in one of our trainings, we discussed, and he understood why I joined, and I wanted to be more medically inclined in case I wanted to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was like this, like, hey man, you do your thing, there's no issues. I won't bother you extra the thing, whatever you need to do. Like you do your thing. And so that mutual understanding was like very free.
Mm-hmm.
I felt free.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, oh okay, I could be me, I could just do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when I really started feeling like, all right, I'm part of this group and we're gonna go do this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, getting to Monats, I don't know if you guys remember walking off the plane and there was like snow coming down. Oh, dude, how awesome was that, man? Like, I think about that scene in my mind. I'm like, it's like from a movie.
That was.
We did a lot of cool stuff.
That was wild, dude. It was cold though. That's the part I remember about it. Not being able to have my hoodie or my beanie on till. You remember that? We're all like in a heating circle or something, and First Sergeant comes out. Nobody's got any warming layers on. He comes out. He's got his like OR gloves on. He's got his beanie on, a hoodie, like a fleece hanging out, and everybody's just like, this motherfucker, right? And then he looks at us. He's like, "What, you idiots? It's cold out." And then like garments started coming out of the woodwork. You seen gloves and hoodies and motherfuckers pulling full happy suits out of their cargo pocket somehow. It's like, what's going on around here, dude? First Sergeant did it. Yeah, so yeah, that was a wild time, dude. And then it's like that hurry up and wait. Okay, we're here. We're amped. Go to Cherry Point.
I was a lot of that.
It's from the very beginning, bro. We didn't even leave when we were supposed to leave Cherry Point. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Having to stay the night there because something got jacked up with our flight. So we're the last night on American soil. You had to sleep on.
What will happen?
Probably just piss us off mostly. I don't know. Like who knows? Probably like some plane, had to get.
No.
Who knows? I don't know.
There's probably nothing wrong with the plane. They were probably just like, well, at least we're here. Hurry up and wait. Like.
Yeah, thought this would be faster. Sorry, boys. Go to sleep here on your last night on American soil. Yeah, that was dope. So it kind of started there and then just kept on coming. Like the night we were supposed to invade, we don't invade a bus wrecks, or that's what they say, right?
Yeah, it was. I was shocked by how much downtime we had.
Shit ton.
Before.
Right? You mean like post leaving here, but pre-invading?
Yeah.
Dude, so much.
Yeah.
Right?
I think part of that was because of the company we were in, though. We were the assault. We were Hilo. So Lima, India, CIA, ATF, all the other elements, and then the Afghan elements were shaping at that time for the invasion. So it's like train, wake up, train, eat lunch, train. It's like only so much you can do. And then they gave us a range, which was dope. The range before we pushed was dope. So
we got to go condition 1 for the first time
in the country.
In the country.
Yeah. And we did those ranges. We killed them, popped everybody's cherry, kind of gave everybody that, okay, like it's we can do this, because we also operated that range was the first time we operated with A&A, and everybody's kind of tripped out on how they were going to do, and we were like, yeah, it's pretty good. All right, so let's get into the invasion. We're kind of set the stage there, but I want to know emotions, feelings, what you remember. We started like the early morning of the 13th, like when we make our way to the tarmac, let's say, and who you were invading with, Johnson's squad, right?
No, I think for after the helos. Oh, you mean after that, right?
No, like who'd you helo in with?
I was with Staff Sergeant Wright.
Oh, you with
So
me
I
then?
don't know. Then I was with you.
Okay. Yeah.
I was at the tail end of the line.
Yeah. Okay. So you came into the flooded poppy field with me then?
Yep. I was Lieutenant Manny was like right after me.
Okay. Yep. Check. That's something that slipped my
I
mind.
got hurt. Remember, like when the door opened, he hit his head. He was bleeding.
Who?
Like the elder guy that was in the house.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
But I treated him.
Yep. No, I just couldn't remember that. I didn't remember because I figured Fowler would have been with my chalk, but being that we had 3, we had Corpsman with everybody's chalk, so it didn't matter.
Right.
But Doc H always stayed with Big Whiskey.
Right. So whatever Corpsman was there would then switch off with me.
Right. Gotcha. Check. So, okay, yeah, so let's get into that. Let's get into we're making our way out to the tarmac and go.
So, like, the first thing I remember is, like jumping off the helo. Like, it was just mud everywhere, right? And, people were just yelling. And, it was just, I think it was a chaotic situation. But we practiced so much. Like, we knew what to do. But it was comical how they thought the A&A commanders were like other fighters.
That was me.
Well, you got it called in by Cobra.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the air called it in, but it was like, yeah, that was almost a real big mistake in minute 2.
Yeah. So,
we'd had a mass cast.
Scary. So I come out the helo. I started walking. My legs are shaking so much, man. But I'm not scared. I'm just very, very anxious. Like, what's about to happen? And my legs are shaking. I fall. And I remember Lieutenant Manny, like he's right behind me. He's like, "Is that you, dog?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So I get on my knee. I wait to helos leave, and then we started walking in one line. Then I remember dogs barking. There was like dogs barking from the house, maybe. And there was like a back door to it. So because I was one of the last persons, I just stayed behind and just watched the door. I figured, why am I gonna come in? Like, what am I gonna? I'm just gonna probably be in the way. let me just hang out here.
Right.
Dogs. Let the Marines do the thing, And that was pretty much how the whole deployment went. I mean, it wasn't until I felt like, okay, I need to do something that I then acted, because I didn't know what you guys were doing. I'm not a Marine.
Pretty close in my opinion. No, it did kind of go like that though. I mean, it was a traditional deployment where you had a real job to keep people alive, and the Marines had a real job to keep people dead. So you let them do their jobs, and then when we got hurt, you helped people, and you helped Afghan forces as well, and even triaged some bad guys along the way. So, and civilians, yeah. So it's now you guys were busy. It wasn't a whole lot of time for you to be kicking indoors anyway. And you're not the one that should be doing it. We lose you, then we lose a lifeline, right? So that's just the way that we work.
Right, unless there's like circumstances dictate is how I saw it, right? Like if it was just a team and I'm with the team, then no, shoot, every gun matters. Right?
Yeah, yep.
But if I'm with the whole platoon, fuck am I doing on the front line? Like
no, yeah. You in the wrong spot. That's what you're doing. Somebody messed up. So let's say we came into the field, and I've kind of beat this one to death. I'm gonna gloss over it, but after we got cleared from the mud, we made it to a foothold building, and then the sun came up. That's when the first contact started. Do you remember much about that time?
Yeah. How much? And by the way, when you're asking me, like, how much detail, how much depth, how much step by step do you want? You want
I want you to tell it how you want to tell it. I think the
Yeah.
more details is better if somebody's trying to set up a TDG after, though.
You know, I remember. So we walked up to the house. I remember it was really fucking dark, and it was like cobras circling the sky and shooting lasers, which was freaking fucking badass.
Yeah.
That we could see with our MVGs. And then we got up to the house. The dogs barking. We got in, and I treated like my first casualty. Right, this was the older guy. Lieutenant Manning asked me, how's he doing? And I I'm trying to talk through. Tank, I think, was the interpreter.
Little bitty guy. Yeah.
Yep.
And then, oh man, I got a story with him. Anyway, so I'm treating the guy, and he's got like a gush on his forehead, and he's like bleeding pretty bad. I think what happened was he was trying to answer the door, and the door came in, slammed his head. So I'm trying to patch the wound. And, they're asking me if he needed medevac. I'm like, no, he'll be all right. So I patched him up. We stayed there for a couple hours. We left. We walked through this really fucking long way in canals and shit. We're wearing all this fucking gear. Oh my god, that was terrible. Why you guys always choose the worst path? Fucking broke down a straight line.
Look. There's more to that, okay?
Yeah.
That was the lesser of two evils that day. So, like, walk through a minefield or try to jump up.
We value because it was tough times, and I think we did good things, and many of us came back. So whatever you guys were deciding, good on the leadership, man.
Well, that specific one is just so like such a hot topic because of the leadership of E-Man in that time. Like, there was a shitty situation. It was a suspected minefield, or travel south and then make a crossing on this 12-foot deep rushing canal, hoping that all of those buildings to our right don't open up. I mean, just pure shitty situation. And when you're in that, you really have to level it out, take advice from as many different angles as you can, and then make your best educated decision on what will make the most sense and keep the most damage to your element down. And I just remember being in the GP tent. I think I was kicking it with, you and Jesse. We were laying down, cleaning weapons, whatever the case. And it's like, hey, squad leader's up to, LT's hooch, Staff Sergeant was calling us. So we get up there, and it's like, E-Man and Staff Sergeant Wright were sitting there, around around the map, basically, on the little bunk. And E-Man just brought all three of, Mihai and JT in. He sat us down. He's like, hey, I want to talk about this openly. I want to openly discuss pros and cons of COA, COA B, And, whatever happened at that table happened. And then we slapped the table, and it was everybody in on one decision, like MCDP1. All options are available, and all critiques are recommended until the table slapped, and not everybody at that table agreed on the same COA. It's a fact. But once the table was slapped, everybody was set, and
Accepted
so,
the COA.
right. And so that the only reason I bring it up is that specific situation, even though, ranger filing in a wide open desert, with little to no cover, seemed like a bad idea. The other option was patrol down, cross a hell of a jump or a piece of water, hope that nothing happens, and we don't know the security posture of any of these houses, but they had IEDs in them. So it's like,
Right.
And you're gonna have that. You get into a kinetic situation in a conflict. These Marines that are out here now, like, it may sound cliche, like it will sound cliche, but it's always going to be what you didn't expect. It's always can be worse than what you practiced for. And
It's cliche because it's true.
Cliche because it's true. I mean, we TDG'd the hell out of everything and every COA that we could do, and then it turned out that ranger filing through the minefield ended up working. Turns out it wasn't a minefield, right? So, but borderline. There's definitely some mines in it.
50-50.
Yeah, 50-50. But yeah, that was a wild time. So then we get, linked back up at the CP. We get a little bit of rest, I think, that night for some people, some maybe not, and then pick it up from there.
Yeah.
Also, I want to talk about, like, what is, you're the senior corpsman in our platoon. You had a couple other corpsmen, a couple other personalities that you're looking out for. How was that working in the beginning, when things were, initial one day?
Yeah. So, like, in the beginning, it was really, we didn't know what to expect, right? So because of that, it was really just whatever anyone needed. If we had it, we'd supply it. So that was our supply line. So, like, if I had something Fowler might need, here, you need it, right?
Check.
And then I go resupply from scene line corpsman, who at the time I think was Rios.
Yep.
Level. And then if he has it, he will supply me. So it was like a down effect in terms of supply, right? In terms of just really supervision, they didn't need any. They were well trained, so they knew what to do.
What about emotionally?
Yeah. It was a lot of checking how things back. I think things back home was like a big deal for everyone, not just the corpsmen. If that was all right, then you're more likely to be okay. So it was checking how things at home, everything all right. And there was probably like a nuance like, oh, I need to call home. Okay, so setting that up, going through radios and getting chief. But really, they were awesome. I mean, they didn't need any sort of managing. They bonded well with the Marines.
What was interesting to me is to see, and we're not gonna take a deep dive here. I'd rather do it with him. But it was interesting for me to watch the evolution of Doc Fowler.
Yep.
Because in the beginning, I saw that young go-getter. I'm not gonna say not a go-getter, but that young dude that ended up in a place that he was definitely uncertain about his decisions. Definitely, struggling maybe with the certainty of his decisions and the gravity of his decisions. And that's how it started. I mean, and it ended with this dude on every freaking patrol with me, holding rear six sometimes, firing off at the enemy, treating the wounded, triaging the, civilian and enemy casualties, and just being a fucking lion.
Yep.
And, we got to watch a lot of that on that deployment. Everybody got to watch a lot of that. But shout out to John Fowler. I've tried to get up with him. If you see this, get up with me. Because he was a beast, and it was crazy. You seen it with the bees too, right?
Oh, of course.
So you see these guys come straight out of SOI, and they're just scared to death, but then just turn into this completely different thing, along the way. That was a beautiful thing. So
the day I took over second squad, second section, you gave me Fowler, Grimes, and Brady. And that was my section. And then A&A and ANCOP, or however many there were of those. And I looked at Doc and I was like, looks like you're a Marine now, Doc, because I don't need your skills. I need you to be a shooter.
Yeah, we need you. We need your gun in the fight. Cause,
you remember how to do ECPs, Doc? Because that's what we're going to be doing.
Things were different there. Big battle space.
And look, he manned up. And he was running an ECP with either Grimes or Brady.
No, he was tough, dude. Tough as woodpecker lips, for sure.
I mean, you too, Doc. All y'all.
He was awesome. He really was awesome. And he was friend. He was a friend, He was He was great, man.
I loved him. He gave me some comedic relief too along the way.
Oh,
definitely.
He was so chill.
Yeah.
All the time.
I remember one time we're patrolling and we come up on this, I don't know, man, like 10, 15, 20 acre field of marijuana. And I mean, these stalks are like head high and the buds are like hanging down. And and Wetzel was my point man. And we had smelled it in the air the first time we got out east.
Doc smelled it a long time before y'all smelled it. I can guarantee that because he was standing next to me.
Yeah, out east of Hanson. And so, like, I see, like, the Marines, like, nose go to the air, and I'm like, just follow your nose, Wetzel. Let's see what this is about. So we come up over this hill, and it's like Emerald City. Boom. And Doc was like up there in that team, Fowler. He's like up there in that team, and he hits his knees. He hits his knees, and he's like, my next wish is for a dump truck full of rolling papers. And everybody loses their shit, right? I was like, oh, my God. Fowler was hilarious, man. Great corpsman, you know, and just it was a beautiful thing to watch the evolution of you, Fowler, all of them. But Fowler almost more to me because he was so fresh when he came into us and not sure, you know, going to do his best go-getter. But, man, we were in a shitty situation for your first go-around. Him and the bees. And, yeah. So did he come to you much for support, or was he just got it?
It was a more friend to friend. We never really had that hierarchy. In fact, we were both the same rank. So, you know.
I know, but like people that are same rank as me that done something before or even done it a little longer than me, I'm probably going to him like, hey, dude, what do we do? You know, like, what's going on?
I think I was his corpsman. And I think he was my corpsman. And so whenever I had issues, I would go to him, or he would come to me. And that's just very general among corpsmen. But because we were right there next to each other,
sure,
you know, it was just so easy. And he's just such a chill person. Yep. So yeah, you know, and he never complained. I remember that he never complained. He always had a positive outlook on everything. And when he did complain, it was just comical. It was his way of like
his venting release. Yeah. The caduce. We vented about a caduce one day in a GP tent. Fucking hilarious. Yeah. Hey, Lions, man. Lions.
I got a question for you, Doc. Because like I know y'all get taught how to put like SAM splints and chest what do they call those things for
needle
thoracensis and all that stuff. You learn how to do all of it. Do they teach you in field med battalion or field
FMTB field med?
Yeah. Do they teach you how to kind of gauge the psychology or the psychological, the mental state of a Marine as well? Do they kind of give you a little lowdown on that?
Interesting.
Or is that something you just did as just like...
It wasn't taught though, right? Like at an educational level from an instructor, they didn't teach you like warning signs to look out for or things of that for mental trauma?
There's a lot of cliches and stuff like that, right? I think that the fact that there's a salty Marine, there's usually infantry is embedded with that platoon of corpsmen that is training. I think that's their way of doing it. But aside from that, we do get a lot of like high intensity training that's like combat casualty training. So there's like in FMTB they have this great facility where and it's part of our like I don't know what you call it, like part of our exam to like graduate from the school, and we have to pass, right? And essentially you start from the beginning of the facility where you're basically from the get-go you're crawling. So you're crawling.
I've been in that facility. It's wicked awesome. Like you talking about with the strobe lights and the noise and the smoke machines and all that. Exactly. That's wild.
And some people take it like, you know, depending on the instructor, may have like a bucket of like pretend blood, just red, right? And they'll just probably dump it on the corpsman, throw it on the wall, right? But the best training for corpsmen is at CAPS. I mean, there that you have amputees that play the roles of amputees during some explosion, and there if the corpsman fails the course, he gets dropped at least back then a bucket of red paint on, you know, to signify like, hey dude, it's serious, right? Right. I think when it with red paint, it sends a very strong message.
Absolutely.
You know, it's interesting that. It's interesting to me how many people are coming out with these traumatic brain injuries. You know, I suffered from a traumatic brain injury from over there, from some 82s, and to come out afterwards and start having seizures and start having these neurological issues, that's something that I think, you know, has more light on it now than maybe ever. But it's almost like, you know, every college team and professional team, football team and otherwise, that have, you know, high propensities for head injuries, they have the, you know, this concussion protocol to ensure this person should or should not take another blow today or tomorrow, next week, 6 months. And it's like I don't know what it, I don't know what it would require. but I feel like we could train even like the RAS senior lines or senior corpsmen, and it's like, hey, when this truck gets blown up, you're going into a concussion protocol. And I understand like that's going to take away from the force. And what if all of them have a pretty bad TBI and they shouldn't be back out? Then what do you do? Then it's combat replacements coming in, or whatever. And I know it poses an issue, but it seems to me that we could have that very easily embedded within the medical staffing of like an infantry line. And if we can have it and we can test it, like, why wouldn't we? And the only answer to me is that, well, we would lose too many people because there's too many head injuries.
Or money.
I don't think it's money, though.
It's just so hard to get it right. It's so hard to get it right. And I could see, like, that's a way for Marines that don't want to be in the front line to get out. How do you prevent that while still get to the people that need the care?
Yeah, I don't think you prevent it. My worry is that somebody like myself or Matt or Joey had head trauma time and time again, and it's like, yeah, you might have had a concussion. That's all right. You shake it off. You drink some water, eat some ibuprofen, you go about your business, and then you get maybe an ID debt or an 82 debt on you or something of that nature, and then what? Then you've had all these explosions or all these things to your brain that have gone on unchecked, unnoted, unmonitored, nowhere in your service record, and then you wonder why you start having seizures or guys start having brain issues at an early age. And it's like, I would estimate that that's one of our biggest killers. Not I'm no doctor, but it's one of the biggest things that I hear from the veteran community, and reasons why people struggle so bad is they've been blown up and there's inflammation on their brains, and it's causing memory loss, or it's causing borderline dementia, seizures, neurological issues, these things. And so I kind of beat it to death, I guess, but I just feel like that's something that we could train very easily our corpsmen to look out for and then implement after incident.
Yeah. I mean, we do have that, but I mean, we check alert and oriented ×3. We do that. We check for signals, right? Things we could actually see, like signs, right? We check the eyes, the pupils. We could check if there's any fluids come out the ears. But this would be from much more serious injuries, right? But you're talking about like an aggregate of these injuries.
Yeah.
How do we prevent those things, right? Like, can we look for signs of those things?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how hard would it be to teach our senior line corpsmen or even the regimental line? Like, hey, I had a dude that got, his buffalo, his mine roller took the blow, but, the dude's been puking, or, can't get his eyes right, or he's saying that he's having trouble. Now, I know that once we note things, here's my bone. Anybody can come up to the corpsman and be like, hey, I'm having trouble, and they should. But when you have somebody in a situation where they know that if they say something, they get pulled from their element, or they're going to never come back to their squad, or name your million reasons why you wouldn't want people to know that you were hurt, it's those people that still should be in a mandatory protocol. Hey, we have to check you. I'm sorry, but we have to check you. Because it's not like you're not going to notice, oh, I can't go back out. You're just going to notice that maybe you're a little bit dizzy once in a while, and you just keep getting nauseous, and you're catching a migraine once a week when that never happened. But you could still go out and operate, right? And what you don't know is the lasting long-term damage that's already happened, and then everything after that is going to continue to damage and damage and damage. Do you see what I'm saying? So it should be a mandatory protocol.
They should get pulled from the line the same way someone who's designated as urgent, right? Like if you're triaging.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
I mean, I don't know if it's that. I'm just saying, I'm not even saying pull them from the line mandatorily. I'm saying check them mandatorily. Ensure their eyes are good, because if the NFL has a process to know if this guy can get hit again, we should have that exact same process. We should know that. Like, if they can identify processes that are either stopping or starting CTE in their football players, then let's just look at their paperwork and say, here's the protocol.
If a Marine came to me, or any service member came to me and told me something like, I'm thinking about killing myself or killing someone else, then I have I guess
inherent responsibility.
Right.
Are you a mandatory reporter as a corpsman for something like that?
So escalate it to whoever will be in charge, right? So perhaps there should be something similar for if I think someone is showing signs of TBI symptoms, if you can define them.
Right. Well, and then my next bone would be, okay, so that's not mandatory. That's still putting the onus on the line on the corpsman.
There's got to be an incentive or disincentive for it to happen. Like for instance, one time, right, I was treating another corpsman, and the people there did not want to medevac this corpsman. This was in Marjah, and Lieutenant Emmanuel, he looked at me. He asked, he said, "Hey, what do you think?" And I'm like, "No, he needs to go like yesterday." And he then made the call to medevac him. But you see, there's still that culture, right? So
no, I know. I think we got to get past that culture.
Right. So then it's even more than that, right? So you got to train these officers. There's got to be an incentive, disincentive. I mean, the officers in charge, right? If the officers incentivize or disincentivize, right, one way or another, to have to medevac this person for those reasons, then he's going to look out on his behalf to do that.
I would say the incentive is that's one of your men that's injured more than what you know, and it's not your job to decide how injured he is. It's the corpsman or whatever team it is that comes together that says no. Because it's the same in the NFL, right? There's no incentive for, like, let's say, give me any great quarterback right now. Let's say Joe Burrow on the Cincinnati Bengals. There's no incentive for him to get hurt. There is sometimes maybe a back-drawn incentive or a slight underhand incentive for a Marine to get hurt. If he gets hurt, he gets retired. He retires early, name your on and on. Right, but so the incentive for the commander would be that, like, you don't have a Marine, kill himself in 5 years or, suffer from injuries that he didn't know.
They're not thinking about that at the time anyways. They're thinking about the mission because it's mission men.
Maybe automatic break time. if this
Now, we had a little bit of that. I mean, think about after Sergeant Hine. He got his head spun. He went up north, left the remainder of the deployment to remain, concussion free. So there was a little bit of that. Sergeant Lewis as well, when he got his bell rung on that culvert.
Rocked.
He got rocked by that big jug, and he went up north and got, mandated, hey, and see, that's what I think the problem is, though. I think the problem is that when you do go get checked out, turns out that, it only takes one IED or 182 or one, javelin rocket real close or one controlled det just a bit too close, and those shock waves are going through that brain and just boom, boom, boom. They're damaging these, the chemistry between the cells. It's what was that Dr. Brandeis was talking about.
Yep.
Dislodging connections, and there's your memory and just different things. So
I agree with you that more work needs to be done, right? And it will help a great deal if the corpsman on the line could detect and medevac because of it, right? Just freely without fearing repercussion from the other Marines, like, hey, why are you sending them home, right? Because as a corpsman, you get to deal with that too. You get Marines that are looking for an excuse to go home,
Right.
And so if I start medevacing Marines, we're out of Marines.
that's my point.
That's true. Yeah. Then you got to fight the war all by yourself there, Navy.
Yeah, no shit.
Nut up, yeah. All right, so let's move past it. So, what are we on, day 2?
That was a deep dive.
took a little deeper dive there than I had intended. Not
it's
true.
I
think light needs to come to that situation. So,
exactly.
So let's push on. We finally get into Marjah. We kind of got our foothold that second day, or that first night. Going into the second day was a real fight. We're kind of pushing over there to help Neff's guys. What do you remember about that time?
So it's difficult for me to follow the timeline that way, right? Just because it's been so long.
Yeah.
I can tell you from the first ambush. When we were leaving the guy who offered us shy. You guys remember that? Anyway, I remember a few boots were very excited because they got to drink fucking shy for the first time.
Something other than water.
And they got diarrhea.
I found out because they came to me because they had diarrhea.
Yep.
Anyway, we were crossing, and I remember we were all in a straight line, and it felt like an eternity fucking went by. And I think someone at the house, the guy who was hosting us, told us that there was Taliban over there at that house, or that flag meant that there was Taliban.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wright asked to get the rockets ready. I remember that. I don't know who he asked. I was more like in the middle. Then, out of nowhere, we just got blasted. Just small arms fires. I remember 2 rockets went right above us. That it fucking felt really close.
Too close for comfort.
Yeah. And that was the first time I fired my weapon. I was on the prone. I fired the weapon at the noise because I couldn't really fucking see. And then I remember Corporal Russ ran behind me. And then Hackbarth, I think he was already inside, but he left his bags outside. So I think I went in the first squad in there.
Okay. Okay.
And so we just ran in there, and we basically, it was a firefight all day. I remember that. No one got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Big ass bomb. I think it was a 500.
Oh, that's day one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. 500-pound bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And right before the bomb, Hackbarth, someone else from first squad, I can't remember. Staff Sergeant Wright was getting us to get the freaking place. And right when we were about to leave the building, go flank, they called in that the bomb was coming in.
Yeah.
And that's when we came back. Right? We're like halfway, Staff Sergeant, come back.
Yeah, there's a video of it on YouTube where it's called The First Hours of Marjah.
Yeah.
You've seen it. And E-Man's like, no, don't fire at the place with the yellow gate. That's friendlies. Like, that's where we're about to drop that bomb. You better pull them back.
Because Wright called a whole bunch of times, and I guess it wasn't getting okayed until later.
Yeah. Yeah, wild. Now, what do you remember about, so the following day, we kind of get into it, and then that night we bed down at that place with the corral. I don't know if you remember that or not. It had like the little circus tent corral thing, animal thing.
We might have called it the Alamo.
The Alamo was where the water got dropped off.
Holy shit.
Yeah, real cold.
Fucking 2 or 3 in the morning right above us, and then they fucking went like 500 meters out. We had to go get it in the morning.
Yep, that place.
That was fucking crazy, man. It was freezing. I remember we got there, and we all buddied up to snuggle real closely to pass the night.
Yeah.
And at like 2 in the morning, fucking Hilo is like hovering above us, like he's getting ready to drop the stuff, and I just see Staff Sergeant Wright like, no, not right here. Going like that way, right? And he went fucking way out there. I don't know if you guys remember.
Intimately.
Typical pilot.
Radio came to me that morning. I think his foot was frozen.
You say frozen or broken?
Arm was frozen. Say what?
What'd you say? He came to you about his foot?
Yeah, he was complaining that his foot was frozen. He claimed that he had frostbite. He couldn't feel anything. So,
Who? I could believe it. Radio.
Oh.
You guys remember there was like this hole in the lot, and there was like, I don't know, there was like a tent over it. Is that the place you described?
Yeah.
Corral.
Not the room itself, but the tent.
Yeah.
I think Radio and a few other Marines laid down there because they were like freezing.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to treat them, and then we went out, got food, came back, and I remember, so my arm was frozen too, and I just remember feeling miserable. Like,
Yeah, I didn't see hypothermia being one of those things that we would have to face. I was wrong about that. All right, so let's talk. Let's keep moving forward. We've talked a little bit about day 1, day 2. You remember the day 2 we're assaulting the machine gun bunkers.
That was day 3.
Day 3. I mean, day 3 assaulting machine gun bunkers. That would have been a little bit beef. That would have been a little bit after Alamo stuff. So we're kind of jumping around, but basically where we consolidated. Yeah. What do you got from that day? Because I know that. Did you help with the ANA commander on that day?
Yeah, I treated the ANA commander.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because that happened right beside me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I seen his boots come up. We were running to get to that little fighting position that was in front of the compound we started in.
Yep.
And I don't remember how close I was to him, but in my mind, it's like ingrained because he took one right to the face. Wow! And his legs came off the ground, kind of like.
He wasn't a commander; he was a first sergeant.
Oh no, the first sergeant was the PKM guy.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Commander.
I ran him back.
Oh yeah, he ran him back. Okay, so I'll take your word on it. It was one of the upper echelons of the ANA Kandak. So, what do you remember about that?
So I remember. You sure, man? Because I remember.
I'm not sure.
That's why you're here.
All right. So, you guys were coming out the compound, right?
The courtyard, yeah.
Like, great. What was it?
Like the courtyard. You know, we had a compound inside the courtyard. We were exiting, like exfilling the courtyard to get to a fighting position in front of those bunkers.
Right.
Yeah.
So from my view, I just saw the compound. You were leaving the compound. That's all I saw. So as you're leaving, I'm like, oh, great. I get to go take a shit right now. I don't have to go.
He said, I haven't taken a shit in 3 days. It's time. We all had that thought at some point, I think. Yes.
Like, it's downtime for me. You know?
Yeah.
Like, hey, best wishes. Let me go, right?
Best wishes. Been waiting on this moment for a minute. Give him hell, boys.
So yeah, I go do that, and as soon as I'm pulling my pants down, I hear corpsman up. Shit, got serious, right? And like I'm trying to process. Like, are they fucking with me?
Yeah, they knew I needed to shit.
But I hear it again and again and again, and it got louder, so I fucking pull my pants up. I run up to where Staff Sergeant was. He tells me the ANA commander just got shot in the face. That's how he puts it. And I'm like, all right. He's like, well, let's go.
Fix
like,
it.
So I go gear up. I come back. He's like, all right, Doc, just stay by my waist. So he goes up to the first fence. I want to call it fence, right?
The wall, yeah.
The wall. Thank you. It's a wall.
It's a wall.
Yeah, that wall was about as big as the TV monitor I'm watching your face on.
He walks over it, like takes us one giant step over. I have to fucking
Like, wait, Staff Sergeant.
Wait for me, I got little legs.
He has to stop and look back and like wait and like and I get there and he's like, "Are you ready?" But then we were at the corner of the building.
Yeah.
He shows me where the ANA commander is, and he says, I think he yells at like a line of Marines to fire.
Yeah.
The bunker, right? And he gives them the order. He looks at me. He says, "Go." I fucking jet out to the commander. I get there. I go on a knee and I start treating the guy, and then gunning.
Mac.
The gunner looks like he's like, "Hey, Doug, you want to get your fucking shut up?"
Yeah, because the entire company staff was up on that wall.
Yeah, I remember. I was worried that we were going to get yelled at for not having shaves.
Yeah.
Turned out they were cool with it. But,
Dude.
yeah, so you guys drag him back, right?
I start treating the commander, and I fucking see that his ears coming out his ear. It's like just stuff out his ear. So I grab it, I push it back, and stuff it like real good. Make sure it's all back in there. And his where the bullet wound was, dude, it was like if you got burned with a cigarette, like
yep.
It was so small.
I remember.
And as it went in, it like dried up everything because there was no blood coming out when I saw him. But he was in Orient, right? So then I think Staff Sergeant sent me with 3 other Marines, or either that or the 3 Marines that were laying there came back with me and carried him.
What do you remember?
Y'all called for stretcher bearers. Me and Wetzel ran out there with a stretcher.
There you go.
That's what I remember. Because I remember getting up on the wall, and then somebody, might have been you, looked at me and Wetzel and was like, he doesn't want to get on the stretcher. I was like, well, what are we doing here on this little ass wall? Because that wall was very, 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 very small.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like shin and knee high.
yeah.
Well, like waist high for you.
And there
but-
was very little real estate left on the wall from all the Marines that were
wasn't.
already up there. Yeah, there was nothing left. So then I was like, well, if he's going to run, tell him to run his ass off.
No, so 4 Marines that were there, because each one carried them by the extremity, picked them up, and then I ran
Okay.
out and lead. I stopped halfway and I shot back also. They came behind me. I came in with them. And then who was in second squad?
That's all of us.
That's all our guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Name me team leads.
Me.
It was Charette.
And
Charette
Bennett.
and Jesse
Someone-
Bennett. Jesse Bennett.
I think Bennett was either by the hay or someone said put him by the hay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but we laid him down on the hay and started treating him. I put an IV on him, called the 9-line, and they came really fast. I remember that, it felt to me really fast.
Mhm,
But he was
Well, Big Whiskey was already spinning up the 9-line whenever you ran out there.
Mm-hmm.
So he just needed like, hey, what's his status? That's all he needed to.
Shot in the face, sir.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of
That
knew.
dude came back though. You
Yeah.
remember that? He came back to the fight very shortly after that.
the very next day. The BC came out and said like hi to me. And shook my hand, like, hey, great job. I want you to know he made it out. The IC, he was in ICU in Germany. He made it. He made it through surgery and all that. So, fucking, I mean, shit. He was alert, but he wasn't oriented.
Yeah.
But then it was difficult for me because I had to go through Tank, like so.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell Tank like is he okay? And then Tank's like, yeah, he's having a good day. I'm like, what? No,
he's not having a good day.
Not a good day. Just took a 7.62 millimeter round to the faceplate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think we worked really good that day. Like I think from corpsman side, like the Marines were ready to.
100%, dude. And we did have air all over us, so it was like they would drop down in minutes. That was the most support I've ever seen in any campaign ever that I was affiliated with. But yeah, they dropped down in minutes. As soon as the 9-line was up, they had escorts coming in and birds coming down. So it was a good time.
It was PJ that came out on the chopper.
Not
Crazy.
surprising.
Crazy, dude.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's fast forward to the 21st. We secure footholds. We're kind of fighting the area. Some heavy equipment comes in to build us a cop. They engage a fighter one night. My squad does the react patrol up there, battle damage assessment, checking weapons and intel. We basically plan a mission for the next morning off of some of the intel we got up there. And then my squad and Heinz squad, Big Whiskey, man, we all kind of launch off on an assault on that little interconnected village, up above the, the radio tower area. You know what I'm talking about. So let's get into that. Your view.
Yeah, man. That day was crazy, dude. That day was I was by the canal when we all stopped and we were ambushed. Ran into the first compound, and I mean, I just remember bullets flying all day. So from there, from my view, it was watch the detainees while the Marines did their thing. Then, hey, dog, we're moving. Okay, leave them, go. I think we might have gone from one compound to the next compound, and it was long fields that we had to run through, right?
Chisel plowed fields, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and and I remember we were doing it like 2 or 3 at a time. One time it was Staff Sergeant Right, I, and Tank, the interpreter, and Tank was behind me, so I was in the middle, and we were running, and Tank starts passing me, and I'm like, fuck this shit.
Tank was more scared than you were,
Yes.
The bullets fell so close that day. Oh my god.
especially in those fields, I'm sure.
Oh man. So we got to the second compound, and I think they on the radio, Sergeant Hein, they say Sergeant Hein was hit.
That was the purple
And-
smoke.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then hey, high just been hit, and I'm like, all right, let's go again. So we run across the field. We get to high. High's purple, just from fucking. He's at the door just greeting us like as we come in. He's like, "Hey, it was just a grenade." He's just like laughing at this point. It was just a grenade. Like,
The best hit ever.
Well, we saw it from up
we
there, and I was like,
kinda-
why is someone marking with purple smoke?
Yeah, from our vantage point, it's like we look down into the field at one point, and you guys are like kind of like getting after it, right? And and we're like, ooh, they're really in it, and we're trying to scan like the buildings to find and fix whoever's shooting on you. And then the next second, you know, you look down there and like there's just smoke everywhere, like running in a circle, and you hear Hein on the radio, and it's like, what in the actual fuck is going on down there?
What does a purple smoke in a circle mean?
I missed this on the signal plan. No, it wasn't funny. It was
No,
like
it
that's
wasn't
how
at the
close he
time,
was
but-
to losing his hip. You know, his hip and girdle
Yeah.
area was a couple inches away from that. That was in his drop pouch, right?
Yep. It's funny now.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's funny now. But that day
I mean,
was
fucking close.
different emotion.
Really
Yeah,
close, man.
yeah.
I mean, but he had, he was just laughing at it. So we come in, and maybe like, I think Froder comes in, and then behind him is Hansen,
Mm-hmm.
and so Froder comes in. Hansen's like a good, I don't know, 10, 20 meters away, and he starts yelling, "I'm hit! I'm hit!"
As he's running.
Yeah, but he quickly just falls and stumbles.
Mhm.
And we were all like in shock, like, "What the fuck? What do you mean you're hit? Like, what do you need? Like, fuck? What do you're out of ammo? Like, what? Like, we didn't want to process.
Right.
I'm hit. We just, and then like from my point of view, I looked on the side and he was on the ground, and I'm like, "What the fuck's he doing taking a nap? Fucking like, why would it be?" And I look back. I think Frodo was behind me, and I think Akbar was there too. I just fucking sprinted out. I grab him. I pull him, and I remember his weight. He weighted so much that the first time I pulled him, I fell back. Like I lost grip. So I started doing the tactical, like lay prone and put him on the hook and try to use my whole body. And I did that, and then I felt hands trying to grab me and pull me. And I, again, like the people I saw there was Froder and Hackbarth and Tank. Tank was, hey, Froder, Fowler, his state of mind, Tank's state of mind from beginning to.
Mm-hmm.
So we managed to pull Hansen inside, and he's just letting me know he's very thirsty. I'm looking at his face, and he's looking pale by the second. I start doing the check around, going underneath, check for any blood. I don't see anything. I keep asking, "What do you mean?" It's like, "I'm hit, dog. I'm hit." I'm like, "Where?" I don't. So I start just cutting close off, taking close off, until I get to his hip, and I see a very small wound again. Again, the size of a cigarette, maybe. Again, dry. Right. So I quickly turn him around. I'm looking for an exit. I'm looking for somewhere to patch. Looking for somewhere where I'm telling myself there's got to be blood coming out somewhere, right? But I don't fucking see anything. I check him up and down. I don't see anything. Now he's telling me he's thirsty. I'm really thirsty. I'm thirsty. I think Froder gave him some water or Akbar. Then he started choking on the water. So we sees that, and so like I couldn't feel a pulse, right? I couldn't feel a pulse anymore. And Ray's looking at me, and he's looking for an answer for the 9 line, right? But what? And I'm like I wanted to feel pulse so bad, right? But so I'm realizing he's bleeding out. But if I put fluids in, he might bleed out fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm thinking, well, oh, his like, what if the chopper gets in here? Like, but then I'm like, no, I just called that off. I'm like, no, there's got to be a pulse, right? So I take up, like, I took off his clothes real good. I start looking. He was still breathing, like very, very slightly. So I give him quick breaths, 2 or 3. I see his chest open up. I try again. And I don't know how much time went by. And I'm checking for a pulse. I feel a pulse, like very, very low. I feel a pulse. I get back to Wright. I'm like, Wright, he's got a pulse. Wright's like, get that fucking bird over there. The bird turns around. He comes back. We stretcher him to the bird. And I couldn't get. So when I saw the bird coming in, I wanted to get a line in, but I couldn't get a vein. I couldn't get anything. And everything collapsed on me. I tried like fucking 10, 12, fucking 15 different needles. I just kept going on gauges. I couldn't get anything. But yeah, he got on the bird. And as far as I knew, he still had a shot, right? Yeah, man, that was tough, dude. Like at the time, we didn't think like, we thought, oh, he's gonna be all right.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's go get whoever did this. Let's fucking go, And I just remember we were moving really fast, like we were just on a mission. Yeah, it's tough, man. And I mentioned Tank a lot, and Tank helped out a great deal. He was the one that held Hanson's legs the whole time. And just everyone around. Oh my God, I think we bonded really, really tight after that.
We learned something that day, that we weren't invincible. And I think that up until that point, we thought we were invincible. Even though the Vocolo got hit, it's through and through, and he was okay. It was like, cool, let's make him pay for it, And then when Courier got hit, it was like we knew the company wasn't invincible, but we didn't know about our platoon not. And then that day, it's just humbling, It's a humbling thing, and then everything hits different after that, Every hug, every mission, every, smoke pit conversation, it just hits different. So that's where that tightness starts, because it's like we're in a position where I only have you and you only have me, and at that point we still only about 50% if we do it right. Like that's how bad the situation is. So, and that was a hard day. Every time we work through it, either me, Matt, me, Joey, we've worked through it with a lot of people, but that's not an easy thing. And I think we did everything we could do. You did everything you could do, and the motto or the statement sometimes that's made in the line is like, if you get them on the bird alive, there's like a really high percentage chance they make it. You get them like the golden hour, right? You get them to a next level of care within an hour, and that day it just wasn't on our side. So how did that affect you going forward?
Dude, it's hard, man. It's weird. It's very weird. I think as a corpsman, if you really own up to the job, I think from the beginning you accept that that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very like emotionally detached way of thinking about it. As professionals, in the healthcare industry, we're told to be careful with the words we use. We don't want to provide false hope.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm.
Right. And so that me helped me in dealing with it. I just shut it off, man. Like I just shut off emotions. I just completely detached myself from the situation, basically.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what's after that? Like Hanson humbled us. And after that, we kind of move into a different battle rhythm. You know, it's kind of like a 10 days on post, 10 days on patrol, 10 days on react, and kind of moved like that for the rest of the deployment, you know, after we got out east of Hanson. So what's your SIG events, or what's your takeaways, big fights, big things that stick out to you for the rest of the time? Because, I mean, it's just so, you know, I think we've kind of beat the story to death for people that have been watching, but people that haven't, like, it was a raunchy fight almost always. Gunfights literally every day, sometimes multiple hours, sometimes half a day, all day, going into, you know, the nighttime. So, you know, as the corpsman, what's your take? What's your memories?
Yeah. Right. So after that, it was definitely a lot less kinetic for a little bit, right? Like I think we were looking out for that base that we're building, like Hanson and the extension.
Yep.
What was that called? 3 points? No, or
No.
5 points.
5 points,
Yeah.
but Camp Hanson, and then originally it was Camp Allen.
Yeah, originally.
But it was like battalion, and then there was the little ANCOP base, which we were occupying in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to call it Outcast, but they wouldn't let us.
Yeah.
They
Remember?
wouldn't let us.
Yeah.
Should have been.
I remember. I got to be by the radio a lot, so I got to hear a lot of the comm. I wasn't part of any, just listening.
Yeah.
I was terrified of comm, man. I never wanted to go on comm. I thought it was fucking scary, man.
So hold on.
I had to be
I have a new theory. Docs could also be a part of the Lance Corporal Underground, to where information gets released to the battalion.
100%.
If anybody's heard the Brook, you'll know what I'm talking about, so go buy it.
That's right. So
it was a lot of treating heat injuries. A lot of the ANA refused to drink water, and they will get like heat exhaustion. They'll start having seizures. So I treated a couple of NNA for that. I think one of the ANCOP, right? The police.
Yep.
Right? One of the top people there was shot in the chest, had a hole on the chest. So it was like changing the bandaging for them. So it was doing like little medical things, or like routine follow-up care that you would do right at a clinic. I would do with the Marines and the ANA. So a lot of like headaches. We would resupply sometimes, right? We'd get on the trucks and go out to resupply some other places.
Yep.
So that's the story about medevac and the other corpsman. The other corpsman was the corpsman at the other site, and so they wouldn't let them leave, and that's how Lieutenant Manuel got involved. So resupplying them medically. So it was a lot of medical. It was a lot of taking care of Fowlers and Facilianos evaluations, and ranking them accordingly, and doing their write-ups, and just a lot of administration things, basically. We also did that program where we gave people fertilizer.
Yep. That was the CAG ops. Yep.
So I remember one time I had so anytime they were hurt, they would come up to the front and they would bring them up to a corpsman. So one time there was a kid who his fingers were missing. And because I think he was trying to plant an IED, or at least that was the story.
He was being forced to plant an IED. I remember what you're talking about.
So it was a lot of corpsman stuff. At the BAS, we had a corpsman schedule, right? So there was times where Kilo, second corpsman would come in and stand guard or duty.
Yep.
At the BAS. So we did that. That was our basically our work. But until we moved to
Riley.
Right. That's when we started going to the OPs, right?
Yep.
So I had OP1.
Who's
There
that?
wasn't a lot of conflict.
JT.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah. You had a
was
nice
just a lot
OP.
of-
That was a nice OP.
Yeah. It was just really far. It was the best,
Yeah.
but it was just really far.
Yeah, it was far. You
It was a piece.
paid for that nice.
We
for
didn't
that
have
nice
a
stay
roof.
on the Cadillacs. Yeah, we didn't have a roof, but it was a shorter walk.
Not that much shorter.
much less defendable for a shorter walk by about 600 meters.
Joey had 2 stories, so I mean, really.
Oh yeah, kinda.
Didn't you have 2 stories? No, my bad.
One story.
Someone had
One story.
What's tell me something from the OPs out there with JT.
Because
Because I never operated out there too much, honestly. Ever.
We did that one time where we got dropped off in trucks where there was a platoon. Or,
yeah, it was once. Yeah.
One of the other platoon squads, and we went down south and did some stuff and come back.
It was wild, such a different fight depending on who you fought with or where you were at.
So at the beginning, we had a pretty big radius. Like we would go out pretty far. We would go up south, even further west, or was it east?
East.
And then north. But I think recon came, and they took the south, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was OP1 had a checkpoint, I think, also that they manned from OP1, and we had a dog. His name was Kobe. We named him.
Yeah.
We
Wild dog or like a bomb dog?
Say what?
Was it a wild dog or a bomb dog?
No, it was a wild dog.
Oh, okay. Check.
And I'm telling you this why, because it was problematic when recon dog came. So so recon brought a fucking German Shepherd. They didn't like this motherfucker, and we had to get rid of him.
Motherfuckers. Damn it.
Recon gets everything.
Yeah, Gatorade, potato chips.
You know what they didn't have? Wag bags. Because they stayed at OP2 with us, and they didn't have no wag bags. I ran out of wag bags, so it was like there was multiple users per wag bag for a couple of days. I was just digging holes in the sand, dude. I was like, fuck that. But
you know what they did have? Suppressors for their saws.
they did have that.
Which is pretty legit.
I think the infantry line now all has cans.
Probably.
Yeah,
Everybody's
I'm pretty
got
sure.
them, yeah, sure.
Not us.
We didn't have that.
Now, what else? What else from then?
I think it was pretty safe in the regard. It wasn't very kinetic. I think we had a couple rounds fired at us, but it just hit the walls, and then we went out on patrol and we didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of fucking canals. That sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing the patrols. Like IEDs that we thought were planted, or we'd go check out sites.
Mm-hmm.
I think the site where the missile came in and hit the two guys on a motorcycle, I think we went out and checked that out. I think that was one of
Oh,
but it was,
say that again?
there was like a missile that struck one of the guys, or two guys that were on a moped.
Straight north of...
HIMAR, yeah.
No. Hellfire.
I think
Oh, yeah, Hellfire from a Predator, wasn't it? Yeah. It was UAS Hellfire. Yeah, it was on Route Taunt or something.
The one that leads directly north out of Cop Riley,
So
out of 5 points?
I do.
Yes.
Yes.
It was like Doc.
I didn't realize... So he rolled with us?
Yeah, he had to if we were
Okay.
a React squad that day.
I remember going out and we went into this house that was next to the road.
Yep.
We stayed a little
Was
bit.
there a canal on the other side of the road?
Yep.
That's it?
It was like one of the better roads. I mean, I wouldn't technically call that a road.
It wasn't after the Hellfire hit it, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
There was a rather large hole in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy day, too.
Yeah, that was pretty
'Cause
crazy day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we control-deaded that thing from way too close of a distance.
Hey, had the far
But that was-
side.
yeah,
had
I
the
mean,
far side and near side
yeah,
cordon.
that was a wild time.
I think, I mean, we weren't really doing much other than manning the OPs and Cop Riley for a little bit. And then we started pushing out
Mm-hmm.
and doing those things. But I think during that time, we really didn't see anything. Who was it that lost the gear and had to go outside Cop Riley to look for it?
Was that me?
Probably.
Talking about metal detector?
I don't remember. I don't want to say any names, but I think it was you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We got fully enveloped by the enemy that day. And denied air.
It's a long story.
And denied smoke. And denied some other things. So, yeah, we lost a piece of gear. In a canal.
Yeah.
It was a bad day, too. Thanks for bringing that up, man.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Bro, we had so many close calls
We had to
down
do
there,
something
though.
else. We had to do something else because someone else had to go look for this stuff. I think, were you on QRF or I don't?
Oh, no, I was on patrol, came back, got an
No,
ass chewing, and got sent back down there.
Unless-
Unless this isn't us.
This might not be us because I don't think he would have stayed with Staff Sergeant Fowler would have been with us.
Yeah.
Because we were the only squad from 2nd Platoon in Cop Riley, 5 points at that point.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, he's right. It would have been
Unless
something else.
for some reason something got shuffled around and he came with Lieutenant Emmanuel just because. I don't know.
Matter.
Doesn't matter. We don't talk about the 8-6. That's all I'm saying. What happened on the 8-6 that day stays on the 8-6. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, things didn't get crazy again until the end when we were.
You mean
out.
The 5-day war?
Yeah.
Crazy for who? I felt like we had a lot of craziness in between a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I guess it just depends on who's going out with who on what day.
Yeah.
For what missions? It was a wild time, but the 5-day war was freaking crazy.
There was a lot of missions that felt like there was a lot of like anxiety, like shit's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, when you start your deployment, you start your deployment dropping in helos in the middle of a damn city, a Taliban stronghold. I mean, you're always going to have anxiety when you're out on patrol. I mean, your baseline is set so high that
more than normal. Like we go out to like areas that we probably never been before, and it just felt like
oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah, oh yeah,
right. Where we would be more tactical than not.
Yeah, less complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild. So we're gonna get a little bit further now, I guess. Where do you go after we come home? Did you go back on 2?
No. So after that, I went with the division surgeon's office. So I was in Cambridge,
Okay.
out where like the flag building where the general is.
Yeah.
So the chief, 3-6 chief, went there, and there was a E4 opening. So he asked me, and I was like, yeah. So, because a lot of you fuckers were leaving too. So it's like,
you're never gonna be that cool again. Let's get comfy. Hey, no. So what do you do over there though? Like, what's your job over there?
So when I was over there, I was a lot of AMP. So I handle all the database for all the Navy sailors, like all the Navy sailors.
Yeah.
All the corpsman sailors, all the corpsmen.
Yeah.
So basically, all I had like 1,200 sailors on that list, and I had everything. So anytime there was deployments coming up, they would look at that roster to see what corpsmen were coming up for deployment. And so they would, and I would onboard all the new corpsmen. So I would go to HM3, I would meet all the new grads. So later, I was the one telling them like, "Hey, you're
yeah."
And that's what I did there.
That's cool. You enjoyed it?
Oh man, it was awesome. Like being in the military and having that, it was like being a secretary, a civilian secretary. Yeah, I had a PT in the morning, but I ran PT.
Right.
Like dude.
It's different when you're running it, huh?
Oh man, like I was skating. I was doing some really nice skating.
Now where you go?
Awesome.
What do you do from there? And you get out after that, or do you?
So there was an opportunity to take orders to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. There's a naval base there.
Okay.
Right out of Boston.
That's right, and I grew up in Boston, so I was an hour commute. So I moved to Boston while commuting to the base.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it, man. Like it was going blue side completely, entirely. So it was like so much red tape. And
yeah, bureaucracy.
It was a lot of fat leadership that wanted us to PT. It was that type. It was like if you're not showing up to the breakfast if you're not making cookies Friday afternoon or you're not gonna get a good event. Like it was that type. I couldn't wait to get out. So that when the opportunity came for me to leave, like my DD 214, please.
Do you think you would have still gotten out if it hadn't been for that leadership? Like if you had better leadership?
Oh, 100%, man. Dude, like I gotta say, I was privileged in the sense that because of the leadership I had, I was always placed in a great opportunity to make rank. I didn't make rank because I didn't want to, but I always had the 4.0 eval. I always had like the, a junior sailor of the quarter or whatever merit, and so I was just a rebel, man. I didn't know what I wanted either. So it was both ways, right? But I always knew I wanted to go to college. So if I saw like if the military gets in the way of college, then I got to leave the military.
No, you're good. So what college did you go to?
So I went to SNHU. Have you guys heard of it? It's
Yeah.
South New
South New
Hampshire
Hampshire University.
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Hey, what, you hating on your own school?
No.
Well, it seems like you're laughing at your own institution, Anderson.
So I'm actually looking to go back to school.
Yeah,
They have a great online program, and they're great to the military. I gotta say that.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes it very easy to get enrolled, because that's one of the hardest steps is to get enrolled.
yeah.
And a lot of veterans just fucking get fed up with because there's a lot of BS, and so they make it great. And so I went to school for business accounting, graduated that, and then I went to go work for the state in Massachusetts. I was a state official going around farms looking for any evidence of violation of like labor laws. So I was working for the Executive Office of Labor under the Department of Labor. And it was a lot of meeting employees who didn't know their rights. And a lot of these employers bring work from other countries. And a thing that they do is they take their passports and they hide it so that the workers can't leave. And so this is what like we describe as modern day slavery.
Right.
And so looking out for that. And I did that for a little bit. And then I realized, no, if I want to get paid, I got to go back to school and get my MBA. So I went to school, I got to make my MBA in supply chain. And then I started working with pharmaceuticals. So I looped back around to
medicine.
Right.
That's right. And I worked in supply chain quality for pharmaceuticals. I do global external quality. And that's what I've been doing, but on and off for different companies. So like right now, I'm not working. I'm not for a company.
Right. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing outside of that supplement?
So I do Airbnb. So if you guys are in Boston, Miami, soon Colombia, Medellin, come let me know. I should have Airbnbs in these locations. Happy to host you guys.
Heck yeah, dude. Definitely. And I want to talk more, offline with you about the Airbnb business. But before we stop, how did you get into that? And like, explain why you like it.
Why I like it is easy. It feels very, very natural. So when my parents migrated to the United States, our uncle let us live in his apartment. And we lived in the dining room. We put a curtain and we lived in the dining room. My mom, my dad, and I. And so from there, my parents managed to get their own apartment, and we also live in the dining room, but we rented out the bedroom.
Okay.
And we started getting income from the bedroom, and that's how we managed to we'll rent out an apartment. And my parents just kept scaling. Then they would live in another apartment with 2 bedrooms, live in the living room, but rent out the bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
See a pattern, and then they were able to. They managed to buy an apartment building, and we lived in one of the units, and they rented out the other units. And I was exposed to that since I was a little kid, basically. So it comes very natural, and I'm okay. And since the military, I'm very okay with not having a home, like a set place where I can just sleep. Yeah, after a while, I want a home, but I'm okay with being on the move. And just not having like a place where I set home base.
Where would you consider your home base right now? Are you more down in Colombia or in the States?
No, so home base is still the States because that's where I run the Airbnbs, right? But I live most of the time here. So I live with my girlfriend. We have 4 dogs, and they're great. And so I'm from Colombia, so there's that. I didn't grow up here, so it makes it a little strange. But I don't know. But I do eventually see myself going back to the States. Yeah, I mean, that's where capitalism is. That's where America, man. And for immigrants like who value entrepreneurship, America's great in that sense, right? In the American dream, and I believe in those things. I personally believe in those things.
It's amazing, dude. I'm so glad that you're doing well. It's great to see you, and you have my word. I'm coming to Colombia.
Awesome.
I gotta get my passport lined up, but
I guess I gotta get mine too. Judging by the look.
I gotta make it happen. I want to come see some of that beautiful countryside and share some of that culture. You know, you travel with the Marine Corps, the Navy around the world, and not always do you ever, especially not in the infantry, you don't always really get to see the beautiful side of things away from home, the cultures away from home. You just go there and you burn everything and you come home. You don't get to see a whole lot of great things. At least in my time, I want to go see those things. So, yeah, I'm serious about that. And if you got Airbnbs, that's even better. We'll just figure it right out. So,
Absolutely, man. Please come
figure
down.
it out
Come
for
down and
sure.
enjoy. It'll be awesome to see each other too. I think.
Dude,
This is
amazing.
awesome.
This has been amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a great outlet for people. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and allowing me to use you as an outlet or give the knowledge, the stories coming from that specific situation, because they should be studied and they should be ready. That way they're not caught with their panties down the way some other people could be. So, man, I think we've been going for a while now. I'm going to jump. I appreciate you. Got last parting shots you want to give to the audience, man?
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Keep doing your thing, man. I think it's great, really. Allow people to tell the story. I think it's awesome for a lot of people because we haven't thought about it in a long time. And when we processed it initially, I don't think we were ready maturely to do so. And many of us are now. So I think it'll maybe tie some loose ends, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Anderson, man, I appreciate it, dude. Brother for always, Doc forever, and we'll be in touch, man.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Doc.
Well, that concludes this episode. Thanks for listening to Choices Not Chances podcast. Please share, like, and subscribe wherever you listen or watch our podcast. You can also follow us on social media at Choices Not Chances podcast. Thanks, and have a great day.
Louisiana Gun Shop, your firearm headquarters, specializing in concealed carry guns, ammo, and training. You can get your Louisiana permit with us. Also a large selection of AR-15s, or if you are that build-it-yourself type of guy or gal, we have all the parts to build and customize your own AR-15. Glock, SIG, Taurus, Ruger, we have all the brands, both in the store or at LouisianaGunShop.com.
Not too far. You're marking the building. Hit him. Yeah, that's good.
That's a good shot. That's money. Yeah.